three teams that we think are dead and maybe a little bit of a reason why. We'll just alternate. The first team I'm going to go with, the Raiders are dead. The Raiders fans who were actually like crying in the comments over the offseason trying to tell me that their team was like amazing and like this, that, and the third, like blah, blah, blah. They go ahead, fire Luke Getsy after the game on Friday because clearly he's the reason why they're losing all these games. But the guy who they hired, Antonio Pierce, who is an apparent defensive genius, can't stop a soul in the NFL. I said it when it first happened that I thought that was the worst hire of the offseason. And I didn't think that it would go over too well. I didn't think it would last. And I thought that he would get fired after this season. And it is 100% trending that way. The defense doesn't look good. The offense doesn't look good. And Mark Davis, and now that Tom Brady's involved, maybe he'll be able to avoid this happening again. When Max Crosby and Devonta Adams say we need to hire Antonio Pierce or we're walking, let them walk. Don't allow these players who literally don't know shit hire a head coach who has, I went through his resume in one of the videos that we went through, who has zero head coaching experience. And somehow he's an NFL head coach. It was a bad hire then. It's a bad hire now. The Raiders are dead. They're an absolute dumpster fire, and probably everybody's going to get fired.
Yeah, hey, that's on me. I right hand up. I'll take accountability on that one. I didn't think it was going to go this poorly. Clearly was not right. Not a great feeling when you're trotting out Gardner Minshew and then Desmond Ridder week in and week out after already getting rid of Devontae Adams. Pretty much the only bright spot in the Las Vegas Raiders locker room is obviously Max Crosby, but you got Brock Bowers for the foreseeable future. He looks like he's going to be pretty good, have a pretty good NFL career. But other than that, it's dark in Las Vegas for the Raiders.
No doubt. That's all I got on them.
My first team that I think is dead, Seattle Seahawks.
Really?
I was down on Seattle coming into this season. They haven't stayed healthy. I think that this game against the Rams was the nail in the coffin for their season. They're the fourth best team in that division. We just sat here and spoke very highly of the Cardinals. The Rams have rattled off 3 straight. They're finally getting healthy. The Niners are bringing back Christian McCaffrey. I just don't feel great about Seattle the rest of the way. I looked at their upcoming schedule. They've got to go to San Francisco versus the Cardinals, at the Jets, at the Cardinals versus the Packers versus the Vikings. That's a tough stretch of football games for a team that is banged up and is already not playing great football. So that is my first team.
My question to you, I'm going to push back on this one. My question to you is, they have a bye after this next upcoming week. Then you get Owusu back. You get some other pieces on the D-line back. You get some offensive line back. You get DK Metcalf back. Like, is it a possibility that this team could still win 9 games in a tight division? I think so. I don't think it's that crazy. I think they lose this week. I'll give you that. But are you telling me that, like, after the bye, they're slated to get a bunch of guys back after the bye, including DK Metcalf not being on the field matters?
Hurts for sure.
So
I just look.
Is it possible for this team? Their over under was what, 8.5 wins when we first started?
Yeah.
They're something still like that. They might win 8-9 games though. Still,
they started off.
They could.
They started off hot. Don't get me wrong, but they also started with Broncos, Patriots, Dolphins to start the season.
They took care of business though.
They did, but they lost to the Giants. They lost to the Bills, and then they just lost to the Rams. Like,
listen, we're gonna mark.
They are going to get healthier, but they're already 4-5. They have a tough stretch for the rest of this season, and like, I still think they're the 4th best team in the NFC West. And they're not. You're not putting 4.
I don't know who they are.
Not having You're not having 4 teams in that division come
I
out
think
of
I
make the
think
playoffs.
I think that there is a very real possibility that on any given week, that NFC West could be the best team could be a different team. I do think that. I think
I'm
every team could be the best team outside of the Cardinals.
interesting.
I really mean
Well,
that.
I I'm not there with Seattle.
Hey,
I
we're
just
gonna mark this down and
That's
we're gonna
fine.
come back to it. That's
That's
all
fine.
that's all there is to it.
I'm I'm looking at it this way. The Commanders are a playoff team, the Eagles are a playoff team. The Lions, Vikings, and Packers are probably all playoff teams. The Falcons are a playoff team, and then one of the Cardinals, Rams, or Niners is a playoff team to me.
I
There's
don't
only so
know.
many spots.
There
There's only
is.
so many spots.
And what happens when 3 of those teams miss and 1 make it from the NFC West? And we're gonna be like, what's that? What happened?
Well,
It's
that
weird.
if that
That's a
happens,
weird division.
that means that the NFC North absolutely collapsed aside from the Lions. That's what
It
that
could
means.
happen. It could happen
It could.
because the Bears are looking bad.
The Bears are looking
Jordan,
bad.
if Jordan Love plays hurt one more time and sits out halfway through the game, I'm gonna wring someone's neck. So like I
Correct.
just like that team's like, you know what I mean?
Listen,
They're on a teeter totter.
I
It's a
wanted
weird
to pick a
division.
team. I
I
wanted to
respect it.
pick these teams that I picked were 3 teams that were like right on the edge of being dead or
Okay.
not. I think the Raiders were undoubtedly dead. I completely agree with you there. But my thought process in this was I'm gonna try and pick 3 teams that maybe one of them isn't like was pretty obviously dead, but I wanted to pick teams that were probably more so on the edge rather
I'm
than
just
for sure dead.
I'm just
And I
penciling
get
it
it.
in to come back
That's
to.
okay.
That's all.
Let's revisit it in 5 weeks.
Next, the 2-6 Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
Third in the AFC East. Mike McDaniel should be fired. He's lost his fastball. The offense isn't good. They are a completely unserious football team. Like at the top of the fourth quarter, when they played the Cardinals 2 weeks ago, we didn't get to talk about it because we were banned from the platform. It's how Donald Trump probably felt when he got banned from Twitter. They panned over to the sideline and like Raheem Mostert and Tyreek and Waddle are like laughing, joking around, like having a good time. Like they did this against Indianapolis too when they only put up 10 points. Tua was laughing on the sideline like nothing was wrong, and then they go out and lose the game. This team is so unserious. I think they have a really bad culture around them. The Mike McDaniel story was fun at first, but like clearly he has lost his fastball a little bit. We talked about it when he had the backup quarterback in. Like you look at like LaFleur when he has a backup quarterback in and he can still go and win football games. This offense didn't even have a pulse. So I think that the Dolphins for this season, I mean, you lose to Arizona on the last second, bad look. You lose to Buffalo on the last second, that's a bad look. Then you go to LA next week, and we think that the Raiders or is it the Chargers or the Rams? They play the Rams. We think the Rams should probably take care of business in a spot like that. And then you go ahead and you lose 4 straight. I mean, I just think that this team's bad. I think that I said it when the season started. We were both out on them to not make the playoffs, but even dove into it a little bit more where I said they're going to reach a point where the construction of the roster makes absolutely 0 sense. And you can see that right now. There's no reason to have Tyreek Hill on this football team if you guys can't win football games. So something to monitor. I think they're going to continue to lose games. And when the offseason hits, I think Tyreek Hill is going to be a hot ticket trade piece.
I also just don't think they are super disciplined. That defense was not looking great in that Jordan Poyer just flying in there and spearing. I don't remember what Keon Coleman, I think it was.
Yeah, like what's wrong
And
with him?
yeah, and then Chop Robinson with an offsides call in a crucial moment in the fourth quarter, I believe. Like those are just little things that you can't have happen when you go up against the Buffalo Bills while you're already in a situation where you need to win every football game, basically.
Yeah. They're just not, like you said, they're not a disciplined football team. If you look over on the sideline, it looks like they're up by 60. Like, they're just not a good team. They haven't been since they beat the Broncos and threw up 70. Ever since that happened, they've been on the decline. And I don't care if Tua's not playing or not. Like, at some point, that can't be an excuse. And you still have a ton of talent on this football team. I mean, Tyreek Hill is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and like they don't even try to get him the football. So
Yeah.
something to monitor. I just think that they're dead, and I also think that Mike McDaniel is on the scorching hot seat, and I also think their GM is going to get fired after this season.
I know the check cashes at the end of the day for these guys, but if I'm a fan and like I see my team just losing and not playing good football and the players are just on the sidelines laughing, that makes me so mad.
Yeah, it's
Like
weird.
one thing I appreciate about the Eagles is like if they're losing and they're sucking, everybody looks pissed off. And as a
No
fan, it's
doubt.
like, all right, that makes you seem like you care more. But when you pan to Tyreek Hill and Raheem Mostert and these guys are telling knock knock jokes and getting their stand up comedy bits ready, like at least be mad that you're losing.
It's bad. It's a bad look.
Hate it.
Who do you have next?
The next team that I have is dead is the Chicago Bears.
Yeah,
We covered
unfortunately.
that game pretty extensively, but they just didn't look prepared. And as long as Matt Eberflus is the head coach of this football team, they're just not going to be taken seriously moving forward.
Yeah.
I think there was a tweet that said he's like 0-12 on Sunday away games since he's taken over head coach of the Bears.
Like what?
That's inexcusable.
Yeah.
They're already in the best division of football, one of the toughest division in football. Like the road is not going to get any easier. And if I'm the Bears, I'd fire Eberflus and just rip the Band-Aid off rather than waiting until the end of the season.
Yeah, I bought the hype last year, like on the offseason, like hand up, admit it. Like something that I think's interesting. I forget who said it. It bothers me, but somebody was like, the way that Eberflus's career started out in his winning percentage, like no one has ever like turned it around, like after starting as poorly as he did.
Yeah.
And I think something that probably aged the best was Jackson Smith and Jigba sitting at Super Bowl Media Row, and somebody said, "What do you got to say about the Chicago Bear fans getting Eberflus, like
No,
Eber
it
or
was the
not
OC. It
Eberflus,
was Shane Waldron.
Shane Waldron in as like the OC, and he literally was like, "Is
Is
this
it live?
live? Is this live right now?" Like, and then took like 4 minutes to like respond to the question. So just funny, like that age, that like that's what's aged the best, like from the off season
Yeah.
to now. Like he clearly just isn't doing a good job. I think that we see some major changes go on in Chicago during the offseason with coaches and offensive coordinators getting fired.
I think so too.
So it just feels bad that Keenan Allen is probably wasting one of his last seasons. So that hurts.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I still feel phenomenal about Caleb Williams moving forward. The offensive line just isn't good. I don't think the coaching staff is good. But like as an overall player, I still would be perfectly fine, obviously moving forward with him. They have to get that offensive coaching staff and head coaching staff figured out before any serious conversation about the Bears can be had. I think they'll still be a consistently good defense, although we didn't see it this past weekend. But until Waldron and Eberflus are gone, I, I think Bears fans have to lower expectations even more. I think a lot of people were thinking that they were going to be like maybe a 9-10 win team. I think it's probably going to be closer to 7-8 at this point, 7-8 wins, maybe. I'd have to look through their schedule, but yeah,
Who knows at this point? You didn't even score a
yeah,
touchdown last week. And I think that we can have a discussion that like it could free fall a little bit even worse than what you're playing it up. They might win less games this year than they did last year. So Obviously something to monitor, but I'm 100% with you on that for sure.
Yeah. Yep. Who do you got?
My last team is, and we just talked about them before the incident, the Dallas Cowboys.
Damn it.
I think they're dead.
I had them too.
And quite literally, I think the easy thing to do is shit on Dak, shit on Dak, shit on Dak, shit on Dak. He sucks, blah, blah, blah. Dak does not suck. Hate to break it to everybody. I get it. It's fun to make fun of him. He's bald. Like, I get it. Like, but he isn't bad. Like, he is not a bad quarterback in the NFL. What has happened over the last few years, and if you guys have the opportunity to go listen to Greg Olson on Ryan Russillo's podcast this week, break down the problem with the Dallas Cowboys, he encapsulated it perfectly. But I will give you the cliff notes. What they have predicated themselves on over the last few years, they have completely gotten away from for a multitude of reasons. A lot of defensive injuries that if you don't have Micah Parsons and Lawrence and all of these guys who have been real big impact players, Deron Bland, who have been big impact players for you, you're getting Diggs off of an ACL, which we have all talked about. Like an ACL might be like a year after the year injury when you're really back to yourself. And then on the other side of the football, you lose obviously Tyron Smith. He's going to be like a Hall of Fame left tackle, and on top of it, they did not take getting a run game serious, which really helps this entire offense. I mean, you start looking at this wide receiving core, and it's so bare bones, it's ridiculous. They do like the high school stuff where like it's like line CD in the slot, line CD out wide right, line CD like out wide left. Like he's like your best player on a high school football team.
Yeah.
And like not having a pulse for a run game, like it's fucked up that like Hunter Lepke looks like me in the backfield. Like it's just not a good look. And then you have Dalvin Cook and Zeke and like Rico Dwaddle's like a decent story, but like he would be better suited as like a complimentary back.
Yeah.
So I just think that there's a multitude of problems with the way that this Dallas Cowboys roster is constructed. I think it starts with the defensive injuries that have impacted them the entire season. And now it's carrying over where you are like looking at Dak, like Dak line up in shotgun and drop back the entire game and sling it as much as possible. And the weight of the world is on your shoulders. And like, you can't make any mistakes. That is not winning football. And I just think the way that they're constructed this year, they're dead. They have Dak locked up long term. They have CD locked up long term. They're going to get Micah locked up long term. They're going to have to figure out the pieces around that. And I think that they are going to do that. But this year, they're dead. And news broke this morning, Dak's going to miss a few weeks with a hamstring.
Yeah, that's pretty much sums up why I had them dead as well. They're just not a good football team this year. They did not prioritize getting a run game at all in the offseason. Something that Dallas has historically been serious at. They've always had a decent run game to complement being able to throw the football to their playmakers on the outside, but you can't rely on CD Lamb having 20 catches a game and Dak throwing for 470 and 4 touchdowns every game, on top of your defense being entirely banged up. It's just not a great recipe for success in the NFL. The Dak injury too is also why I had them as dead. I think he's going to miss probably 3 to 5 weeks. They're talking about maybe putting him on the IR. Micah's out still. Don't know when he's coming back, but it's just not looking good the rest of the season for them. I don't even think they've played one NFC game or NFC East game yet. I think the first one is against Philly next week, but it's not looking good for them moving forward for the rest of this season. With them already being at 3-5 and then Dak missing however many weeks moving forward. The good thing though for the Cowboys is the CeeDee Lamb injury wasn't serious, so it seems like he'll be all right. But at what cost? Like you're going to have Cooper Rush or Trey Lance and they're throwing him the football. You can't run the football either way. And your defense is just so banged up that I don't know. I had somebody text me today and say, I don't know if this is a hot take, but the Cowboys should trade Micah to Detroit and start the rebuild.
This is my first off, that's stupid as fuck. Second, who said that?
I'm not disclosing the name.
Do I know them?
Yeah.
Let me tell you a few reasons why that's stupid as shit. First, NFC team. Why would you trade it like if the Cowboy, like, first off, the Lions are going to be good for a long time, it seems like, at least the next 5 years. Why would you trade one of the best players in the game to a team that's already good, who you're going to end up seeing in the playoffs at some point?
And Aiden Hutchinson's not going to be gone forever. So you'd be pairing Aiden Hutchinson and Micah Parsons on the defensive line to go up against.
Second, no matter what sort of draft capital that you're able to recoup from the Lions, that pick is going to be in the late 20s and potentially in the 30s if you get first round picks from the Detroit Lions, which those picks are meaningless. You need to get a team who's like terrible. So like first things first, like that just doesn't make any sense. The only way that would make sense is if they get like Penny
Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Penny Sewell.
Like back, like and
then Terrion Arnold.
Yeah, like no, Terrion Arnold stinks, but like I think that like
it's like a young talented player, like as many young talented players as possible.
Yeah, I think that is unreasonable just because of where the Lions will be picking in the draft the next 3 years, and it seems like it's going to be in the late 20s at least.
Yeah, I didn't comment on it when I saw it. The Cowboys aren't even in a spot where they can afford to rebuild. Like they just signed CD, they just signed Dak. Like in order to be in a good spot for a rebuild, you probably wouldn't have just locked up your two best offensive players long term.
No. And as an organization, just like moving forward, like drafting a guy at 10, 12, wherever Micah landed, developing him to be top 3 to 5 at his position, and then getting an opportunity to pay him is like a dream.
Correct.
Like you don't want to set the precedent of somebody performing really well as an organization and not rewarding them for it. Like that is like a bad look. Like you want to reward your guys for being top performers on your team. That's like bread and butter, like black and white. So yeah, I think that that's ridiculous that is even being thrown around. And as a Cowboys fan, why would you want to get rid of Micah Parsons? Like, why would you want to get rid of him? He's one of the best players in the game.
It wasn't a Cowboys fan that said this, for the record.
Okay.
But it doesn't really make much sense to me either. And as long as Jerry Jones is still alive, the Cowboys will never rebuild.
He isn't alive. I would argue that.
Wait, who is the guy that's like 100 years old that they literally just roll out there that's like actually dead body?
The president, Nixon.
Yeah, one of the old presidents. Jerry Jones at least can talk. That guy actually that guy's actually dead.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sweet.
Okay. But yeah, I had the Cowboys too as my final RIP team for the season. So
it hurts. I mean, they might be able to be competitive in some of these games down the stretch. I mean, without Dak, I mean, come on. Nothing to talk about here.
No. You're gonna start Cooper Rush or Trey Lance for the next 3 to 5 weeks, like, and you play the Eagles, Texans, Commanders for 3 of those 5 games. So
not looking good.
Not great.
I can't wait.
On top of already having the rest of your defense banged up, so
I can't wait for Thanksgiving, man.
Commanders, Cowboys.
I don't know. I just love Thanksgiving's the best holiday of the entire year.
I
Nobody
love
can tell me
Thanksgiving too.
otherwise. Like
I love Thanksgiving.
it's the most simple holiday of the entire year. It's the best. You just literally hang out and eat and cook and hang out and like chill. It's like the easiest
And
thing.
watch football.
It's literally the easiest thing ever.
It's amazing. It gets way too many people try to skip over it after Halloween and go right to Christmas, and
Halloween's
I
the
won't
worst
allow
holiday ever.
I won't allow it. Yeah, I honestly hate dressing up. So
Well, I would never. I'm 30 years old. I would never dress up.
I didn't.
When's the last time I have dressed up? In high school, maybe. I've literally pulled up to Halloween parties not in costumes, and people have been like, "Oh, like you think you're too cool, like to dress up." I'm like, I just don't like it. Like
you should have just said yeah.
Like I don't look at like I don't ask you like that's like me looking at like it was a girl that said that to me like do you want to go to like Kensington with me and walk around? No. So like don't ask me to put on a Halloween costume. Like I don't ask them to
insane comparison, but I get your point.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like, do you want to go to Skid Row with me?
No.
Okay, nope. Then like why would I want to like that? How uncomfortable that would make you? That's how uncomfortable I would be in a Halloween costume.
Yeah. I mean, the last time I dressed up for Halloween was probably junior year of college, maybe. And it was, I put on a flannel and I bought just like a mask. It wasn't even like a full costume.
That's so chill.
It was so chill.
Hey, I'm going to post this. I'm going to watch this game. I'm going to play some Fortnite first, but I'll see you later.
All right. Go Birds.